Have you ever noticed that some of the most interesting people rarely post photos of themselves online, while millions of people share selfies, vacations, meals, workouts, and daily activities? There is another group of people moving quietly in the background. They watch, they learn, they live, but they rarely post. Why? Are they shy? Are they insecure? Or is something deeper happening beneath the surface? The truth may surprise you. Many people assume that someone who doesn't post photos lacks confidence. But in many cases, the opposite is true. Some people stop seeking validation from strangers. They no longer feel the need to prove they are successful. They no longer feel the need to show everyone what they are doing. They become comfortable living their lives without constant approval. And that changes everything. Social media has created a world where attention is often treated like a form of currency. The more likes, the more comments, the more followers, the more important people feel, at least temporarily. But there is a hidden problem. When self-worth becomes connected to attention, people begin depending on external approval to feel valuable. Every post becomes a test. Every photo becomes a performance. Every notification becomes a source of emotional reward. Psychologists often refer to this as external validation, the need to receive confirmation from others before feeling good about yourself. The problem is that external validation never truly lasts. Today's praise becomes tomorrow's expectation. Today's attention becomes tomorrow's addiction. And many people spend years chasing approval without realizing it. The people who rarely post photos often operate differently. Instead of asking, "What will people think of me?" they ask, "What do I think of myself?" This shift is powerful because confidence built internally is far more stable than confidence built externally. When your self-worth depends on likes, your emotions rise and fall with public opinion. But when your confidence comes from your own standards, you become far more independent. This does not mean everyone who avoids posting photos is highly confident. Some people avoid posting because they are private, others because they dislike social media, others because they simply don't care. But one interesting pattern appears repeatedly. The most secure people often feel less pressure to constantly display their lives. They are busy living, not documenting every moment. Think about it. When someone is deeply focused on building a business, learning a skill, improving their health, or pursuing a meaningful goal, they often become less concerned with showing progress and more concerned with making progress. The focus shifts from appearance to reality, from perception to results. One lesson worth thinking about: many people spend years trying to gain attention online but never learn how to create value online. Attention can disappear overnight, but value can continue generating opportunities for years. Whether it's knowledge, skills, digital products, or useful information, creating value is often more powerful than simply attracting attention. If you're interested in learning how digital products are marketed and sold online, you'll find a practical guide in the description that explains the process step by step. Now let's continue. Another reason some people avoid posting photos is control. Once something is uploaded online, control begins to disappear. Photos can be copied, shared, stored, analyzed, and viewed by people you never intended to reach. Some individuals understand this and intentionally keep parts of their lives private. Privacy has become increasingly rare, and because it is rare, it has become valuable. Many successful people understand this principle. The less information others have about your personal life, the more freedom you maintain. You can make decisions without public pressure. You can grow without constant judgment. You can fail without broadcasting every mistake. And perhaps most importantly, you can develop your identity without needing an audience. The modern world encourages visibility, but visibility is not always the same as value. Some of the most successful people in the world spend very little time showing their lives online. Instead, they focus on creating, building, learning, and improving. While others are competing for attention, they are competing with themselves. This difference creates a completely different lifestyle. The people who constantly seek attention often become dependent on reaction. The people who build quietly become dependent on progress. And progress is usually the more powerful source of fulfillment. Another reason people who rarely post photos often appear more confident is because they spend less time comparing themselves to others. Comparison is one of the most powerful psychological traps in modern life. Every day, millions of people open social media and immediately begin comparing. Someone has a better car. Someone has a better body. Someone has more followers. Someone appears more successful. Someone seems happier. Over time, constant comparison creates a silent feeling that you are falling behind, even when your life is moving forward. The people who limit their exposure to this cycle often experience something different. Their attention remains focused on their own progress, their own goals, their own growth. And because they compare less, they often feel more content. Another interesting psychological trait is emotional independence. People who constantly share their lives online sometimes become emotionally connected to reactions. Positive comments create excitement. Negative comments create frustration. Lack of engagement creates disappointment. Their emotional state begins depending on the response of other people. But individuals who live more privately often avoid this cycle entirely. Their happiness is not measured in likes. Their confidence is not measured in views. Their self-worth is not measured in comments. This creates a powerful sense of freedom. Because freedom begins when you stop needing permission from strangers to feel good about yourself. There is also a strong connection between privacy and focus. Every time you announce a goal publicly, part of your brain receives a small reward. You feel productive simply because you talked about the goal. But talking about a goal and achieving a goal are very different things. Quiet people often understand this instinctively. Instead of announcing everything, they focus on execution. Instead of discussing success, they build success. Instead of seeking recognition, they seek results. One lesson worth remembering: many people spend years trying to build an audience without first building something valuable. Attention is useful, but value creates long-term opportunities. Whether it's a skill, a digital product, a guide, or specialized knowledge, learning how to create and market value can be far more powerful than simply collecting attention. If you're interested in learning how digital products are marketed successfully online, you'll find a practical guide in the description that explains the process step by step. Now let's continue. Perhaps the biggest misconception is that quiet people have nothing to show. In reality, some of the most ambitious individuals move silently. They understand that progress does not need constant announcement. A seed grows underground long before anyone sees the tree. A building begins with a foundation hidden beneath the surface. Success often develops the same way. For long periods, nothing appears to be happening. Then suddenly people notice the results. But what they do not see are the years of work that happened in private. This is why many successful people become less interested in impressing others. As they mature, they realize something important. People's opinions change constantly. One day they praise you, the next day they criticize you. If your confidence depends on public opinion, you will spend your life on an emotional roller coaster. True confidence comes from something deeper: keeping promises to yourself, developing competence, building discipline, growing through challenges, and becoming someone you genuinely respect. At that point, approval becomes less important, not because you dislike people, but because your identity is no longer controlled by them. The psychology of people who don't post their photos is not necessarily about secrecy. It is often about priorities. They prioritize experiences over appearances, growth over attention, reality over perception, and self-respect over public validation. Of course, there is nothing wrong with posting photos.